So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences.
Evita Duffy, who not only is she my favorite anti-communist, she's also our Gen Z whisperer. And she brought up something about like coolness. And Evita, one of the things that we've talked about when we were talking about Gen Z is this idea that Gen Z loves substance, that they want something to actually be sincere. And you and I were talking about before how that's sort of like why the traditional Latin Mass has been so big with Gen Z, because they want stuff that actually has sincerity to it. They don't want something that's corporate. And this is such a difference from, millennial core, because millennial core was like Barack Obama, the quintessential corporate candidate of the early 2000s, was actually considered like really cool.
The way I perceive millennials, if I'm just going to be honest, it's just like these guys with skinny jeans and they're wearing a beanie with their hair Justin Bieber style. And they just loved the idea of Obama and how clean cut he was. They saw him as, this guy who was really the embodiment of the perfect left-wing identity politics kind of a dude, right? You saw in corporate America this idea of safe spaces as well as the university system, and then you saw just a real, I think, birth of the woke left. And the Trump years were just a really stark contrast to that. Suddenly there was a revolt against just everything that Obama and the millennials that loved him represented. Suddenly you had young people saying, actually, I don't like how oppressive identity politics is. I don't like the way that just we feel like we can't speak our minds without getting in trouble in the digital public square, but even in our personal lives. We don't like that when we go to a college classroom, we're in a college classroom, our professor will belittle or silence us for saying something that's outside of the left-wing orthodoxy. And so suddenly there was this revolt among Gen Zers and even Gen Alpha to an even greater extent, particularly among men, to say, we reject this. And suddenly Obama's not cool. And what's countercultural and revolutionary is not to be like Obama, but it's to be like Donald Trump, or like the Avengers team that he's assembled, right? RFK Jr. for health and freedom.
Am I back? Where's Jack? Where's Jack? Jack, I want to see you. No, yeah, thank you, Vita, for taking that. No, for a second, I'm not sure what was going on. We had a little gremlins in the Grundoons were able to get it here in West Palm, but no, there really was like this whole millennial push, and I think this is something that, especially with like the core millennials, that really fell for whatever the corporate mainstream was pushing and saying, oh yeah, that's what's great. That's what I want. I want Barack Obama. He's so cool. He's so hip. Look at him. He plays basketball and he likes Spider-Man. And it's like, is he actually doing anything? Is he actually, no. And it's just all this like, all this randomness that was going on around it. Whereas I don't know. I kind of feel like Gen Z, they kind of don't take sorry, Sag, I'll have to say it. They don't take the BS. Like they just have a much higher BS radar, and they're like, yeah, like that doesn't actually help anyone do anything. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it makes Gen Z like that they're going to sit there and be, they're 100% going to support Trump or something, but it's that they're not going to be attracted to a candidate like that who's just so obviously fake and astroturf.
Yeah, so millennials, like I think if you look at your stereotypical millennial, it's just like a guy who maybe skateboards and he goes to Starbucks and he, has skinny jeans and he dreams about working at BuzzFeed in the future and like writing left-wing ridiculous op-eds, and he looks at Obama as his icon, and a total beta male, doesn't work out at all. Maybe he runs, maybe he's on the elliptical. And then you see Gen Z men and they look at their the previous generation, the millennials, and they just say, oh my gosh, this is not cool. This is not what I want to be when I get older. And there's this revolt to be countercultural and to be actually, at least among young men, to be masculine, to be more traditional. They're working out, they embrace RFK and Trump, and they like being sort of politically incorrect because of how oppressive of an environment they grew up in. So the millennials who viewed Obama as countercultural and interesting and progressive and cool have now actually inspired Gen Z and Gen Alpha to completely reject that ideology because millennials are not actually that cool. So I do really think that Obama played a huge role in impacting the culture as we move into the future. He is really the reason that we not only have identity politics, but we also have so much racial strife. And I think the racial strife is a real point of contention that has been a dividing factor among the right and the left. It's something that the left has been able to weaponize against politics and against individuals and the interest of the populist people in America, right? And suddenly you see on the right now a lot of this new coalition, this new right that Trump's created, which transcends race. It is greater than race. What it is it's just people who are regular, who are normal, who want to revolt against the corporatists, against stakeholder capitalism, buying up single family homes and destroying the future.